Stonehenge to Moscow, from the place where East meets West, from the bicameral fissure of the global mind, from the Eastern Bloc to American rock. Welcome to At This Moment on freedomslips.com. Okay, so hello to all you fun people out there. Let's see if I can grab, here he is, add to group call. Let's see, add to group call. Are you there?
Here I am.
Hey, that's so exciting. I just got through with my rant, so it's actually perfect timing, Chris.
That's me. I'm all about perfect timing.
There you go. Terrific. Everyone, welcome my guest, Chris Kehler, to the call tonight, and thank you so much for joining me. Uh-oh, now I cannot hear him. There he is. He's just getting organized. No worries.
There we are.
Okay, great.
How you doing tonight, Angela? Long time no see.
Yeah, you know, we average about once a year, you and I. It's kind of funny. I saw you last year and I saw you the year before. You've been kind enough to come on my show twice, and I'm very, very happy that we're reconnecting at the beginning of this Gregorian year called 2015.
It's going to be an exciting year, I think. There's so many things happening with the whole energy realm and all of the adjustments happening with the whole age of Aquarius coming around. So there's going to be some interesting things happening, I think. Yeah,
I think so. All right, let me just hit the word post here. I don't know. I'm still a rebel, you know. The organizational thing for me is it's very funny. I'm here on time and stuff. No, just kidding. But as far as our organization goes, I'm still working on that. Okay. So anyway, let's go ahead and introduce you correctly. Your website is chriskehler.net, and if I can just give everyone a quick little synopsis of who you are. Chris Kehler is a quantum energy healer using the ancient form of pendulum dowsing for finding the root cause of all health problems. All health problems, that's a big statement. Working with pyramid energies and various sacred geometric tools for resolving the health issues. Chris uses his extreme open mind to develop the fundamentals and theories for his successful healing protocol, which he uses on clients around the world and beyond. So that's a nice little bio. It made my job easier. Okay, so I've got some questions for you, but let's see. First, I want to ask about your new, what is this, pyramid1network.com. You want to explain a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, recently I started my own radio show on pyramid1network.com, and the radio show is called A Quantum View. It's every second Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central, so I just had a show last night. And it's reaching out to a very good audience. And you know, I've done a lot of radio shows with wonderful people like yourself and have had wonderful success, lots of reaction, people calling and asking questions and wondering about all of this ways of healing, all this quantum energy healing. I was approached by somebody I did an interview with, Bob Opperman, and he suggested, you know what, Chris, you're well presented. Why don't you think about doing your own show? And, you know, I thought about it. I thought, you know, what the heck? I've been a DJ for, 20 plus years. You know, in my younger days. And so I've got a little bit of the gift of the gab. So I thought, you know what, sounds like something that could be a lot of fun and something that I could structure myself and fit it around the type of work that I do.
Great. That's awesome. Well, let me also give your other website, your initial website, by the way, which is chriskehler.net. And you can find out all kinds of things, Chris, there. He does some amazing healing work via Skype and sometimes telephone, and of course also on location in, Manitoba, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, great. So everyone can check out all that kind of stuff. Now, you also have a bunch of products, but I think we'll get into that in a little bit. Why don't we, is there anything you wanted to cover before I start, powering through these questions with you?
Well, there's always something new coming up with the work I'm doing. Now, if you kind of look at the way I do my work, I'm working with a pendulum. So what that is you're channeling your higher self, and you're channeling consciousness from the universe. The consciousness that I channel is the God of love and light, and the son of the God of love and light. So I'm going directly to source, and many people do. It's not like this amazing thing that happens. When we channel, we're channeling consciousness. Many people get psychic messages coming in or thoughts, and that's all a form of channeling. But with the work that I'm doing, because I'm so in depth with it, I'm so passionate about it, that the universe just says, let's give Chris what he needs to be able to heal humanity. The biggest thing I've always been asking for is the ability to be able to help people with severe chronic illnesses such as MS, cerebral palsy, autoimmune disorders, all these diseases and illnesses that the medical community just can't seem to get their head around or find out exactly what it is. And lately, I've been getting all that because of the surge of energy going through the planet right now, the rise of the vibration and going towards ascension. I'm getting a lot of things every week. Almost every day, I'm changing my protocol to match what is coming in. And the latest thing that I've found, when people talk to me, I'm always going to say something really far out, really fanciful sounding, like a fantasy science movie. What I've been working on by removing out of people is the God realm. Now, this is all of the Greek gods, the Egyptian gods, the Aztec gods, all these gods that we have knowledge about, that there's texts about, like Zeus and Kronos and all these, Apollo, the Greek, the Egyptian gods, Ra and Thoth and Apophis. They all exist in consciousness within the God realm. And what they look at humanity as is a toy. We are entertainment for them. So what they're doing is they're planting energy within us for things to happen. Thoughts provoke different things, illnesses, all different types of things. So when I remove these different consciousness out of somebody's body, they get an instantaneous healing 90% of the time. I did this 5 times today for people, and they got an instantaneous healing of a certain issue. My work, I'm all about the proof is in the pudding. If I find something with my pendulum that says to remove X, Y, and Z, and I remove X, Y, and Z, I know that X, Y, and Z is a problem. So when you intend to remove Zeus out of somebody's body, and all of a sudden all of their pain you've had for 10 years goes away, you know that there is something credible about this aspect of this realm within the universe. I always do lots of research and everything that I find, and sure enough, there is validity to it. One client in Scotland, quadriplegic, he is now starting to move his fingers, his feet are moving, and he's getting ready to psych up to take his first step. So this is very exciting. There's a lot of really neat things happening just by removing these really weird sounding energies. Now, you mentioned about aliens, and yes, aliens, they do exist on a conscious level. They are within our dimension, they're within our realm, and they are here to try and access our DNA codes. Apparently our DNA is like royalty to the universe. We have such a structured DNA that everybody wants a bit of it in order to help their healing, their process, how to help them study and do scientific research.
And so, you make a nice sauté. Sorry. Please continue.
So by removing these things, one way to look at all of these weird sounding things is as a veil, that there's energies that are in front of the health problem itself. So as I remove all of these different funny sounding entities and this consciousness, then we get to the actual problem within your body, and quite often it could be copper toxicity or mercury or lead poisoning, parasites, bacterial infections, and that type of thing. And I've also been getting very deep into the whole aspect of MI labs and MK Ultra, all of this secret, covert military activity. There's a lot of talk about it on the internet. There's a lot of groups that are researching it, discussing it, and people who feel that they are placed within this concept. And what this actually is within our energy. There's a body called the war incarnation. Now, we got all these different energy bodies. One is a parallel incarnation, which is us in another plane, another dimension. There's also a spiritual incarnation. There's a virtual incarnation, which what that is if you believe that we're created in God's likeness, the virtual incarnation is God's likeness. And then we have the war incarnation, and everything around, you look around the planet, everything is frickin' war. You look at the Middle East, it's all war. You look in your backyard, you've got a war with plants and the ants. Okay, there's all these different little wars going on. You got a war between your left eye and right eye sometimes. If you look at everything as a war, we have this war incarnation. Now, this war incarnation, what I find very often, gets taken to a planet, Saturn, to fight a war that is going on there. The war has just recently ended. So what is happening now is the soldiers are gathering their stuff together, and they got injuries. Here's another big concept about this, and a lot of scientists have given this validity, is working through quantum entanglement. And what quantum entanglement means is that if your energy is 10,000 miles away and something happens to that energy, something will happen to your body, which is right here. The same energy in two different places, if something happens to one energy, something else will happen to the energy 10,000 miles away. So that is what is going on with your war incarnation on the planet Saturn, is that if you take a hit from a laser beam or somebody smacks you in the back of the head with a 2x4 on Earth, you might get a headache.
I get it. I completely get it. Yeah, and then also there's the the opposite energy in general. When something is if you picture just a tarp or something like that, and you push some type of a stick toward it, and it makes a tent type look, that now is impeding upon the space that was there, and so it does, there's now negative energy, not necessarily in a bad way, but there's a lack of that, it's a change in the space, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's something also. By the way, I wanted to ask you a quick question before we continue, Chris, which is Peta Adams is my guest next hour, and when I speak with her, she talks about a lot of these same things, so I'm hoping, I know we're only scheduled for an hour, but I'm hoping that maybe you can hang out for a little bit during the beginning of the second hour, and while I introduce Peta, so that I can just get you two to say hello to each other, because I feel like in the future you're supposed to be friends. So
well, I was 15 minutes late getting on the show today, so I think I can manage 15 minutes.
Darn right. Great. Okay, well that's very interesting. You're talking about if somebody, could you just take me back to that last visual that you were talking about? Okay, so in other words, somebody gets into what is it, on one side of the planet, what happens?
Okay, quantum entanglement.
Okay, quantum entanglement, thank you.
So I work with a machine called Radionics, and there's lots of different radionic type of devices in the world. Many people who are listening to the show may go, yeah, I know what radionics is. I've heard of radionics.
Okay.
Radionics works with frequencies. So if I have your frequency either through a hair sample, saliva sample, or a voice sample, and I capture it through the machine in a tiny little bottle of water that holds the vibration of everything within your body. So what city are you in, Angela?
I'm in South Lake Tahoe.
Okay, so you're in South Lake Tahoe. I'm in Winnipeg. You call me on the phone and you count to 10, and I capture your frequency through the speaker on the telephone into this device, into a bottle of water. Now I've got all of your frequency within your entire body, all of your energy frequencies, your physical frequencies, everything. Now I've got this sitting on file, and you call me up and say, Chris, I got a tummy ache. So what I do is I do some dowsing, and I find out you have a parasite in your stomach. So I take your little bottle of water and I put it in the device, and I put the frequency of parasite and I put the frequency of stomach in with it. And what it does is it harmonizes out. It takes away the vibration of parasite in your stomach. So it's happening in that little bottle of water, and at the same time, it's happening in Tahoe for you.
Wow. That's intense.
That is quantum entanglement.
Quantum entanglement. I love it. I think it sounds like a great band name too. So if I steal it, I'll let you know.
You may have it.
Oh, thanks. I don't even have to steal it. That's great. Okay, wow. All right. Now, today's topic was kind of about the alien thing. So you're saying that they're harvesting we're talking about two things. We're going to be talking about aliens a little bit, like we already have, and also entities. Now, where do you separate that line, and what do you think the end agenda is for that, for their purposes, and how can we I guess, shield ourselves, protect ourselves? Is the only protection by going to Chris Kehler?
Well, of course, absolutely not. I'm not the do-all, the end-all, and I don't claim to be. Now, when you're talking about entities, there's, a few different types. There, of course, when we die, our physical mortal body dies, we have a spirit, and we all believe that we go to heaven or we go to hell, something like that. There's a lot of spirits that don't cross over into the light or go into the realms of afterlife, and they hang around the planet. They're just kind of walking around, looking around, doody-doody-doo, and they see a body, somebody sitting there, and they see a little crack in their aura. So now what this entity will want to do is get into that person's aura so that they can experience life again. Because once they're in your body, they can experience life. So here's a bit of an example. If you're a person who all of a sudden has the urge to smoke every night at, say, 10 o'clock, and you just have this urge and you can't kick this urge, that spirit within your body may have been a smoker, and the spirit wants to experience smoking a cigarette again. So it'll create an urge for the host body to smoke so this entity can experience smoking a cigarette. Now, quite often these spirits will get, what's the best way to say this? There's dark energies, all of these god realms, and there's also some demonic realms, other realms will capture these spirits and they'll make them do the work for them. So they'll get into your body and they'll start causing health problems, mental issues, depressions, and suicide tendencies, that type of thing, are all 95% due to some type of entity or dark energy within your body.
Wow. We've talked about that in the past. You had given me a treatment back in the day, and I was just amazed at how you were able to see right in. You told me, I believe at that time, I had a bunch of spells all over me, and I knew exactly where it came from the minute you said that. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. So it's funny, I was just talking, before you got onto the call today, before you came on, I was talking in less specific terms about every day being the beginning of a new year, and also, meaning what you say, saying what you mean, and finding yourself, a stronger person walking through the day, kinder, or kind in general. I don't know about but kind, generous, wise, healthy, strong. These things are so important in the mentality and the spirit and the body. It's amazing to me. I made some decisions right around the first of the year, and I had been, 2014 was a bit tough on a lot of people, especially the second half of the year. And what I was saying was that I just started to make a conscious decision to close that gap, the one that you're speaking of, if there's a crack in the aura, that type of thing. And I do believe that we all have the ability to do that as well. It sometimes may be much stronger than maybe the particular individual is ready to deal with, and then may seek the help of someone like yourself, Chris, and that type of thing. But it was funny, whatever was troubling me, and I watched myself start to fall into old patterns of I don't want to call it depression, but self-doubt, worry, fear, hopelessness, and I watched it start to creep in. You know how the holidays can be a little lonely and that type of thing. And I'm being a little revealing right now with my own person to the listeners. But I just want to say that I decided to I have been on both sides of that coin, and I've been at different intensities of that line I'm talking about between peace and chaos, and so it was a little easier for me to travel back into peace, balance, harmony this time. And actually, with the help of my new good friend, Peta Adams, who had given me a reading, who will be the guest next hour, she just kind of helped me hone back into what it is that I want to do each day, and what I want to feel each day, what I'm best at, who's my best person, what's my best foot forward, and so I think that your work, Chris, also and on a very interesting level, by the way, it's amazing that you've found this path. I mean, it's crazy good. So I love that you're there to assist people in, I guess, first of all, removing those, viruses, parasites, problems from, entities and stuff, because of what you were saying is a crack in the aura, a certain frequency that's lower, that type of thing. Am I triggering anything that you want to comment on?
You talked about being at peace. Many of us on a daily basis, we have bombarded by different thoughts. Guys will be standing at a stoplight, all of a sudden they'll think about one thing, 2 seconds later they've thought about 10 other things. That's the way some people are. Your thoughts are all over the place. You go to bed and you try to sleep, and the anxiety is driving you crazy because you just can't stop the wheel from spinning. You can't stop these thoughts. These thoughts are all being brought in by all of these spirits, by all of these ET, by all of this God realm. All this consciousness that's around us is coming in. Now, when you talk about peace, what I'm talking about is no more noise coming in, no more thoughts. The way that I operate right now is the only thoughts that come into my mind are the ones that are brought to me by the source that I work with. When I go to bed at night, I hit the pillow, I am out. There are no thoughts zipping around in my head. I remember back when I was in the printing industry, before I got into doing this work, I was working 12-hour shifts. I'd come home, and my head would be spinning. You just cannot fall asleep because you're thinking about the day, you're going on, and all these different thoughts are coming into your head. And now with the work I'm doing now, it's about 1,000 times more intense. But yet when I come home, I get to relax. When I go to bed at night with my wife, we go to sleep, I hit the pillow and I'm out.
That's
and
great.
I don't wake up until the morning.
Wow, that's great.
And that is to me, that is a true meaning of peace. Peace within yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too. I think that being able to go to sleep. What's been interesting? I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday or the day before. A lot of thoughts of the past have been coming in, just memories, things that have happened throughout our lives. We've both been noticing that when we close our eyes, a lot of that's coming in. I don't know if it's necessarily bombarding me by any means, but it's also been a time of reflection. So I have noticed that, and then what I do is I'll acknowledge that I'm seeing a lot of things that shaped my person as I am today, and then I basically breathe. I always picture kind of some loving, warm hands around me. Sometimes they're my husband's, but in general, just a big, nice, safe cradling hug, and then I just start breathing, and I watch my breathing, and then the next thing you know is I'm out. Boom. So I've kind of found a path on that too, and I also love the fact that I can sleep at night and I can look in a mirror every day and not hate myself. I think that's important, and I think that's one of the things that you're finding, is that you have found your path, and you are helping people, and that is just, it is amazing. To some people, your path, your journey, it may seem too far out there, but really it's a balance between science and spirit and sacred geometry and frequency and all that kind of thing. I think I'm basically grasping it. Radionics and quantum.
Yeah, there's a good balance between the spiritual end of things and the scientific, because any kind of health problem is got a balance of both. So you have to be able to know how to find the spiritual, energetic aspect of things, but you still also need to keep your head on the other side of the fence and look for all of the scientific, medical things. So on a daily basis, I'm educating myself within both, and I'm learning all about the nervous system, the muscular system, everything that's intricate within our bodies. And then I also take the findings that I get spiritually, I add it to the medical, because there's things that we don't know about the body that need to be known in order for it to function physically. So I incorporate the two, which gives it a really cool Sherlock Holmesy way of dialing in and finding what the actual health problem is. And quite often, people with really severe problems, they're not really that big of a deal at all if you really know how to look for them and use the methods to get in there and find it. You just find, hey, you know what? This is not a big deal.
Yeah. Okay, wow. War on Saturn. And it's occurring, and how did you learn about that? And how is that affecting the health of people?
Well, as I talked about the war incarnation, now when I'm dowsing with my pendulum, they give me all these little hints of different things, and I use a letter chart. It's kind of like a Ouija board, but not. And I'll use my pendulum, and it'll start pointing the letters and spelling out sentences. And, you know, one day it said, remove this person's energy from the planet Saturn. I'm like, what? Okay, well, let's just do it. And then a few days later, it would say it again in a different way, and it started to form into this scenario that I'm realizing that a lot of people are on this planet Saturn. Now, of course, you're not walking around there wearing spacesuits and hunkering down in bunkers and stuff like that. It's an energy. There's a consciousness. There's an energy on that planet. Basically, every planet in our solar system has got life on it on an energy basis. There is a war going on, and it's a war about the rings of Saturn. There is a certain energy or a certain light within the rings of Saturn that all these different species of ET would like to have. What we are doing on that planet is we have agreed, one way, shape, or form, that we will participate on an energy level to be within that war and defend the rings or try to get something. I haven't got that far yet. They only give me so much at a time. But that's really what it's all about. So, again, proof in the pudding, when I work on somebody's war incarnation on Saturn. Now, here's an example. I'm using my pendulum today on somebody, and this is a boy with autism. And the pendulum told me that there is a lightning strike involved. So I had got the word lightning strike in my charts, and the pendulum was swinging pretty adamantly to the word lightning strike. And I said to the person's mother, I says, has he ever been hit by lightning? Has anybody ever been close to lightning? She goes, no, that doesn't resonate with me. So I went a little further with it, and it said that on Saturn, this person's war incarnation was hit by lightning. Okay, so it kind of led me in that direction. So I worked on it. I did some changes, and that opened the door a little further for me to go in with the pendulum and find more things out. And as I found things, this boy's mother is saying, yeah, this all makes perfect sense. Again, proof in the pudding. When I find things, I work on them, I move them out, it starts to make difference. And this person is actually starting to make quite a bit of progress. Even the teachers at school are commenting that he's more interactive and socially more wanting to be with other people. So things are working in that way. And all the crazy stuff that I find, there is validity to it. And again, proof in the pudding.
Wow. Okay, next question is, what are Stargates, and what is their relationship with the human body?
We've all seen the movie Stargate and different scenarios about walking through this thing and all of a sudden you're in another land, another planet. A Stargate is a gate that on an energy level that opens up and connects to a wormhole, and it goes to another planet, another dimension, another realm, another time, whatever. It does fold space and time, and a lot of quantum physicists have come up with this scenario and said that it is possible for it to happen. You can bend space-time and make it very short. So within our bodies, what can happen is our chakra system, we have 7 major chakras in our body. They can be used as a Stargate. Now, the sun itself is a very large Stargate that large spaceships can come through. If you ever look at, there's video that you can look on YouTube. The site's called Suspicious Observers, and this guy monitors solar activity and compares it to what's going on weather-wise on the planet, and it's very intriguing. And you can see coronal holes in the sun and different things like that, and this is stargates opening up within the sun. When ETs, a different consciousness, want to come into our planet, they can use our chakra system, let's say like landing lights. They see the lights of your chakra, and they can use that to come in and out. Now, here's a scenario to think of: is you're a perfectly healthy person. You've got a fantastic regime of working out and dieting and eating, but yet, the odd time you have a little heart attack. Now, what up with that? That is your heart chakra being used as a Stargate. And the more it's used, the more stress it causes on your body. It creates cortisol in your body. It gets into your muscles and your bloodstream and your brain, and then it causes all these other problems. So that's where the Stargate scenario comes in that can affect a health problem.
Wow. So these are all different ways basically that we are incurring health problems that may not necessarily be of our doing. In other words, with the entities, the ETs, the war on Saturn, that type of thing, Stargates. So it's very interesting to hear all this because a lot of people, so some of what is one of the most intense health problems that you've come across that has been something based on one of the things we've been speaking about? What is one of the most, just the most intense things that you've been involved with on the healing level?
Here's one of the latest ones, and this one is interesting because this person has got a simple case of candida.
Okay.
He's got a yeast infection. He's got candida, and it's with the skin on his face. And he has spent thousands upon thousands of dollars seeing many, many different doctors, practitioners, specialists, energy people, Reiki people, acupuncture, to try and do something about this. He bought one of those fancy multi-$1,000 lasers that you hold in your hands, and he's still got the problem. He heard about me from somebody else, another friend of his, and he came to see me and says, we can work with this. And he's been coming to see me every week for the past, 6-7 weeks, and we keep on trying to find all these different ways. Again, first we're looking at herpes viruses and all these different things. And then just the other day, we started, making more strides in. The more clearings you do, the more you can find these energy problems. And the energy problem was that he was being affected by one of the sun gods, the sun god Ra, was in his body.
Okay.
Now, the only way that you're going to be able to get rid of this illness is by removing the energy component. Because you can get rid of candida, it's not that difficult. You take coconut oil, you take caprylic acid, you do some candida cleanses, you alkalize your body, and you can't get rid of candida. You change your diet a bit. He's done all that, but the candida will not go away. By removing the energy component, which is, and he felt, when I removed Ra from his body, he felt a movement of energy lift out of his body. He said, what was that? I felt something. And I said, oh, that was just Ra leaving. Don't worry about it. And he looks at me and goes, okay, I trust you. And so then we started working on the candida, and changes are happening.
Wow. So that's
okay.
very
Here's another one. I got one more. The more I talk, the more I think about him.
Sure.
I'm working with an osteopathic doctor in Germany. So this is on Skype. This is nobody in my office, and he's in his mid-30s, and he has a lot of musculoskeletal issues. He's an osteopath. He shouldn't be having these types of issues. So he's talked with many different healers around the world. He's worked with homeopaths. He's worked with naturopaths trying to figure this problem out. And they would make little changes and he would get some relief, but ultimately the problem just does not go away. First session I worked with him, the first thing I removed was the Greek god Zeus out of his body, and immediately he said 80% of his pain went away.
Wow.
Now, this is a doctor. This is somebody who teaches osteopathy within a German university, and he practices it. And I'm removing a Greek god out of his body, and he's like, what just happened? There again, proof in the pudding and validity that all this stuff does work. There is something to this craziness.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. So I'm glad that we're going to be able to continue a little bit of the talk after the break. We're coming up on a break in maybe 3 minutes, something along those lines. So let's see. Let me get to this next thing. Okay, we've talked a little bit about that autoimmune disease and the relationship with the ETs. Is there anything you wanted to add regarding that?
Well, autoimmune diseases in general, my first wife, she passed away of an autoimmune disease called scleroderma.
Sorry.
And basically, rheumatologists and doctors, they just really don't know exactly what it is. Your autoimmune means your body is fighting itself. It's sending free radical cells. It's sending the immune system to attack your body, and it creates scar tissue. And it creates calcification with it. So all this stuff is going on, and a good 80% of any kind of autoimmune problem is some type of either entity in your body, a negative energy in your body, and your body is smart, so it's trying to fight it, but it can't fight it because it's not on a 3D level. It's a consciousness. It's a spiritual level. So your body just keeps on fighting. The program just keeps on going, and as it fights, it ends up damaging your own body and creating the scar tissue, creating the calcification, and all of the free radical cell activity. So autoimmune, you really got to get at the spiritual level in order for it to go away.
Yeah, that is, it seems to all come back to the same thing. There is the science involved, but really and truly, there's an entire level that is so essential for healing. Whether somebody can attain that on their own, or whether they definitely are so deep that they really need, help with the science that you've basically created that, I believe. We'll be right back, everyone. Chris, if you'll hang on, I'll be bringing Peta Adams in next, but we will continue a little bit speaking with you, and then I'd love to introduce you to everyone. It's at this moment, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, and if you just want to hit the mute button, so I'll see you in a few. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Angela Black. This show is called At This Moment because that's when you're listening, is at this moment, until I get the archives going on my new website, www.angelablack.vision. And I need a person. I'm searching. I need someone to help me to stay me. I need to be me online, and I want someone to help me. I need a Hayden. That's who I need. Anyway, just so you know, you're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, and also simulcast on wolfspiritradio.com. So find yourself listening that way. We're also on TuneIn and iTunes, I believe, and some other awesome ways to listen in. So figure out how you're here and stay here. And if you're not in the chat room on freedomslips.com, you are missing half of the show. So please do find yourself in the chat room, register yourself a nickname. As I've found, wonderful friends on this Amazing Truth Network. I am lucky enough to have two wonderful people on the show. Chris Kehler is returning for hour two, at least a portion of it, and his website is chriskehler.net, and we're going to continue a conversation with him in a second. And I also have been joined by my new friend Peta Adams, who is here with her view on things and her take on healing, etc. So I'm looking forward to introducing the two of them. I might as well introduce you two first, and then I'll get back to finishing up our conversation with Chris. So welcome to the show, Peta, and welcome back, Chris. I'd like to introduce you to, it's Chris Kehler, Peta Adams, Chris Kehler.
Pleasure to meet you, Peta.
Oh, pleasure. Hello.
That's great. Peta is coming to us from Olympia, Washington. Chris Kehler is in, let's see, I guess I say, Winnipeg, Manitoba? Is that right?
Winnipeg.
Yeah, Winnipeg, Manitoba. I never know if it's Manitoba, Winnipeg, it's another country. I probably should learn, eventually. So we are coming to the entire globe, or at least a lot of it, here on this Amazing Truth Network, and just continuing with some talk, I should say, about Chris's work with quantum energy healing, using the ancient form of pendulum dowsing to find root causes of health problems, and also working with pyramid energies and various sacred geometric tools for resolving health issues. So, Peta, if you don't mind, I'll continue with Chris for a little bit if you want to hang out, and then we'll definitely get into talking with you in just about maybe 5-10 minutes. Is that cool? Chris, we were in the middle of talking about, let's see, we were just finishing up something about autoimmune disease and the relationship with ETs.
So as I was saying, autoimmune disease basically is your body fighting itself. It's sending out its immune system, its white blood cells, and everything that's incorporated with your immune system, histamine and all these different things. It's trying to fight something that isn't there. But it is there because your body's trying to fight something, if you know what I mean. So if there's some type of negative energy or entity, some type of possibly an ET, possibly some negative, could be black magic and voodoo, witchcraft. I work quite in depth removing from people. So if your body is trying to fight this because it knows something is wrong, it will continue to fight because the problem doesn't go away. So then it does create a lot of the scar tissue, a lot of the calcification that accompanies it, and a lot of the inflammation that is part and parcel with any kind of autoimmune disease. And that's why people take drugs like prednisone to reduce the inflammation.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. All right. Now, next on the roster here is talking about astral traveling, which is interesting. I believe I experienced that a few times as a child, and have done that a few times without much training, that type of thing. But I am on that level. I have met some people on the astral plane. What are your comments on that?
Well, basically, we all do astral travel. We go to sleep at night, and when you're having very vivid dreams, very lucid dreams, you are actually experiencing consciousness. Did I lose you?
I'm here. I believe
okay.
It was just Peta's connection.
Somebody dropped. Anyways, what happens is our astral bodies will travel. We'll go off into other dimensions, other realms, and experience things on different levels, and we come back with a memory of the dream. In all reality, we are traveling on an astral level. So that is what astral traveling is. Now, when we're astral traveling, let's say we're off and going to Mars, there's something called the law of planets, which means that if you're out traveling, you can only go to certain planets. So if you go to a planet that is not on the list that you're allowed to go to, you're going to get fined. You're going to get some kind of repercussion from it, and it could come back as some type of health problem. Of course, you're saying, well, okay, so how do I know about this?
Who makes the
law of
list?
planets? How do I know about all this stuff? Where is this list? Well, it exists in a universal level. And as humans, we are not supposed to be doing this. Okay, we're supposed to be quarantined on this planet and staying in our own little backyard and not going off because we're not supposed to do it. Okay, bottom line, we don't know anything about it really. Lots of people, some people can control it and know about it. I always say that when you're having a very lucid dream, and if you can consciously say to yourself, look at your hands, and you can look at your hands, then you know you're astral traveling. You know that you're off somewhere, and you can now start to take control of that trip. There's a lot of different concepts involved, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have a different opinion about this, and that's okay, because in the universal energy realm, everybody's got a different thought, a different opinion, and a different take on everything. You're gonna get 5 people in a room talking about aliens, and they're gonna have all different opinions and thoughts and channelings about what it's all about. And that is a very big confusing thing about the whole energy realm. And that's one thing I did find getting into this work, is that there are different opinions, different thoughts, different rules for everyone, because it's what you perceive things as. It's what your consciousness draws in. What I might talk about with aliens, Peta might talk completely different and have different thoughts and opinions. There'll be some similarities, but there's always going to be some differences. The whole astral travel thing, it happens, and we do it all the time. When you're dreaming, sometimes it is just a dream, a film reel playing in your mind, but quite often it is you going off into another dimension. Now, we've all had a daydream. You're sitting at your desk, you're at school or you're at work, all of a sudden you look and you shake your hand and you go, whoa, where did I just go?
Right.
You just went to another dimension. You just went into another realm. You had an astral travel right there. That's what a daydream is.
Yeah, that's sometimes it's I don't know. My dreams are so intense. It's very. I always know that exists somewhere. What is my message? What is my journey? What's going on in those dreams? And it's like watching a great movie. When I wake up, I'm like, whoa. That was awesome. I'm usually trying to figure out, my way to get through some type of a maze. Often it's buildings, and there's always water there. And what else is interesting is there's usually some type of intricate, long journey of a relatively long journey of a mystery. And lucky for me, many times I solve it. I solve it, and then I wake up. I'm like, yay! I got to the end of the episode, and everything was great. And you know what? That's great, as opposed to waking up while you're falling off a cliff or something. I mean, it's a lot more fun when you get to finish the dream.
Sometimes we get visitations. I'll tell you a little story about some visitations I had. Now, when you're having a dream and things are happening, somebody in your life who has passed away is in your dream. You really don't think much of it. But all of a sudden, somebody shows up in your dream, and you look at that person and say, hey, what are you doing here? You're dead. and then that person just stares at you. And you're like, okay, you're starting to freak me out. And this happened to me once. My dad, who passed away 25 years ago, is standing at the top of my stairs. I'm in the basement. I look up at him, and he's just staring at me. And I says, Dad, what are you doing here? And then he floated down the stairs and looked at me. He's standing right in front of me. And I'm saying, Dad, sit down or something. And all of a sudden my wife is hitting me with an elbow. Wake up. What are you talking about? I was mumbling in my sleep. Mm-hmm. So he was trying to give me a message. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's trying to break through and give me a message. And that happens quite often too. So these are things you may need to pay attention to. A lot of people will notice the clock. If you have a digital clock, you look at the clock, and for me it was always 10:01. I look at that clock, and it's 10:01, and I'd be looking at it. And for some reason, I need to pay attention to those numbers. Mm-hmm. And then, again, the next day I look at it, and I notice 10:01. And I get this from a lot of people, and some people say, yeah, I always see 11:11 and 12:12, and it's always very predominant that I pay attention to this. Mm-hmm. This is your spirit guides trying to contact you. They're trying to give you a message. They're trying to say something. Something in the universe is trying to get your attention. So that can happen within dreams, within astral traveling, within daydreams, within being awake also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 11:11 is exactly what I see. A lot. I'm always like, oh, it's 11:11. All right, so moving forward, and Peta, I think she's back, by the way. She had got disconnected. And I thank you for your patience, Peta. We're going to just finish up a couple more topics, and then, Chris was late, so, I'm going to give him a little crap about that. I'm just kidding. Divine timing, as we all know. That's Peta has taught me a lot about that lately. Okay, so we're going to talk quickly about, well, not too quickly, but I want to touch on, you sell products they're health-oriented, Chris, on your website, chriskehler.net, and everyone, that's KEHLER.net. That's CHRIS, KEHLER.net, and you have a couple of new products.
Yeah, I've got some products I developed. One of them is a ionic gold ormus water, and what it is, it's gold mineral water that I charge with specific energies that promote an infusion into your energy, so it enhances the energy within your aura. When most people take it, what they feel is their aura getting bigger. They feel an enhancement within their bodies. They feel a bit more energy, and it does promote things like your ability for psychic abilities, for telepathy. It helps in those areas. So if you take it on a daily basis, it's like an energy boost for your energy. Another product I have is called Clearing, and this is like a spray smudge. Instead of using sweetgrass and sage and smudging your house, you take this water and you spray it. It's got specific energies within it that help to dissipate negative energies from your house or from your body.
Wow, and that's so is it called Liquid Light Gold Water? Is that right?
That is the Ormus Gold. It's called Liquid Light Gold Water, and the spray smudge is called Clearing.
Wow, that's awesome. I was talking with Peta, and we're going to get into. She's doing a lot of work with cedar, I believe, up in that area. So I'm looking forward to finding out a little more about that as well. And then other things you have. Let's talk about a few more things that you make available to the people who visit your website. And
one of the big sellers is the energy rings that I use within my clinic, and I have a smaller version that my tool maker in Alberta, Crystalline Incorporated, created, and they work on San Genevieve energy system. Basically, these rings, you take the neutralization ring, the small one, and you stand over it, you're going to feel a draw of energy, of negative energies coming off your body, and it's kind of like shaking the tree to see if there's something in there that needs to come out. So it helps to facilitate a healing session. And there's also a sun ring, which is not... it looks like the sun because the tines of it go outwards, and it looks like the sun. Now this has the energy of the sun. It's not the heat of the sun, but it has energies associated with the sun, and it helps to add a broadcast effect of energies into your body. If you were to take that ring, and if you, let's say we're using, let's say cedar or some type of herb or something like that, if you were to put it within the ring, and then you put both of your index fingers within the ring, the energy of that product, whatever it is going to go through your body on an energy level. So when you take the product, it's much more absorbable, and it's going to affect your body in a lot higher vitality.
Wow, and what size is that? I mean, what are we talking about? It's not a ring you put on your finger. In other words,
These are 7-inch in diameter. Okay, for a woman, they'll fit easily within your purse. They'll fit in your back pocket, sort of thing. You could put a lanyard on it and wear it around your neck if you wanted to use it for protection or just to daily increase your energy. So they are of a usable size. The professional ones that I use are 13-inch. They're very large, like a basketball hoop. Mm-hmm. So those you obviously don't want to carry around unless you want to smack somebody over the head with it if you need.
That'd be a big piece of bling. And then you put it on a surface, like a table, or you put it on the ground, or you put it in the air, you hang it from the ceiling. What do you do with it? Where do you?
There's many different ways to use it, and the more people I sell them to and talk to, the more ways I find that they're using them. You can put it on the table and put a plate of food over top of it to remove negative energies out of the food, and then use the sun ring to add positive energies to the food. You can put it in your bathtub while you have a bath to restructure the water so that your body absorbs it a little differently.
Wow.
You can put the neutralization ring between your palms of your hands as if you're saying a prayer, and it'll clear out your soul level. So there's 1,000 different ways to use these things.
Wow.
You can put it under your pillow at night, carry it in your back pocket, many different ways.
And I suppose I could hang it on the wall when just also, correct? I mean, I could hang it on the wall if
you were to hang it on your wall, it would help to clear out your room. So there's so many different ways.
Great. So now I definitely need some of these rings, and I also need a Hayden. So you know this. That's my Christmas list, or my wish list already for 2015. I'm starting that off. I need 1 Hayden, 2 energy rings. All right. And then Shungite. And is that how you say it, Shungite?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shungite is a new element that's been recently found. I think it was like 10, 15 years ago that they found this rock, and there's only one place in Russia that you can get it, where they mine it. And the properties of this stone, of this Shungite, are much like carbon. The molecule of the Shungite, it looks like a soccer ball, and they call it a fullerene because it was discovered by Dr. Fuller. So they call it a fullerene, and it has absorbent properties. So it works really well for people who are sensitive to EMF and ELF frequencies. If you have a smart meter in your home, if you have a Shungite sphere by your bed, the Shungite sphere will absorb the energies instead of them going into your body. So you can get these stones in a version to put in water to enhance and add nutrients to your water and clear the water.
And does it dissolve in the water?
No, it doesn't dissolve. It's a very solid rock, so the rocks sit there. So you take a pitcher of water, you put in a couple 100 grams of Shungite, let it sit for a couple days. It'll completely purify the water and add all the nutrients your body needs.
Wow.
And then what's really nice about the Shungite is that you can program it with energy. So if you took an energy wand and you took that wand and you added intent for this water to enhance your immune system or to detox your liver, if you put that consciousness in the water, you drank it, that consciousness will go, the Shungite will go to those areas, and it'll do what you told it to do.
Wow. Okay, so 1 Shungite sphere. All right, great. Now, if you don't mind, if you want to hang out, I was going to see if Peta had any questions for you and then chat with her a little bit. Okay, great. So, Peta, welcome to the show. Thank you for your patience.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And I was wondering, before Chris needs to go finish painting his kitchen, I think that's what he was doing, if you had any questions for...
First of all, all that information, I think I'm just processing. It's really neat to hear how other people work and what tools you're using. And I think, definitely we're on the same kind of wavelength as far as, how certain things work, I guess, for lack of hardly any information there. I was actually talking with a girlfriend earlier, one of our good friends, actually, Angela, Heather.
Yes. Hi, Heather. She's listening, I believe.
Yeah, she's the intuitive mender. And, we've been so excited for this 2015 energy and welcoming, all that has to offer. And we like to think we're pretty nice people, and we keep running into some negative things or people, and so tonight I had just kind of asked her, do you think that's their response to us and our new frequency or our new vibration? What do you think about that, Chris? Have you seen a lot of that? They said there was going to be this kind of division.
I'm seeing a lot of different things. I have a good friend who's on the fire department in Winnipeg, and he's a client of mine, and he's intuitive also. And he told me he's never seen so many suicides as he's seen in the last few months. The energies are changing so much and getting so high that if there's some type of energy within your body that is vibrating out, it can cause a lot of disruption within you. There are a lot of people who just don't know what's happening. They haven't awakened. Their kundalini hasn't even activated, and they're freaking out because they don't know what all this is. There are so many different aspects of differences that people are going through that you just have. My suggestion to anybody is just to breathe through it, not to pay attention, not to give certain things energy. Just go through it and experience your own being, and just breathe through it and don't worry about everybody else is going through, because ultimately you can't help everybody, right?
Right, that's correct. And then what do you foresee as like the next shift date? I know some people are talking about April being, a next kind of important energetic time. What do you think?
Basically, I just kind of go with the flow. Now, the fellow who makes my tools, and he's the owner of Crystalline Incorporated. He sells these tools all over the world. I'm a distributor for him. What his job is he's the primary person who clears the Earth grid in order for the whole ascension process to happen. So he is very much in the know as to what's happening. And right now, things are on a day-to-day basis. Anything can happen at any time because it's going so fast that depending on what's in the way, it might slow it down, might speed it up, might harmonize the time matrices between parallel worlds. So there's a lot of back and forth right now. So really anything can happen. I pay a lot of attention to the moon phases. Super moons, full moons are very something I pay attention to. There's certain planetary alignments that are big on certain levels. Of course, eclipses and that type of thing. But right now, I just go on a day-to-day basis. And when the shift does happen, most people, if you're intuitive and you're energetically sensitive, you'll feel the shift happen. Mm-hmm. You'll feel a movement. You'll feel like you're in an elevator.
Yeah, I think this was the first shift right before New Year's, where I was sitting in my office, and all of a sudden, my heart started racing, and I thought, okay, that's interesting, and then I started sweating, and I don't sweat, and this was like dripping.
You glisten.
No, even when I sweat when I go in a sweat lodge. I mean, I can go to the gym and leave, and people are like, "Did you even work out?" And I'm like, "Yes, I did. I just don't sweat." So I'm sweating, and then I start feeling super nauseous. And I'm almost going to yell for my husband because I'm thinking I'm going to hit the floor in a second. And
have a baby.
And I'm just kind of, going with this, going, this is interesting. What's happening here? And then all of a sudden it was done. And then I just went and took a shower and really didn't mention. And then it dawned on me, you know what, I bet that was just kind of a shifting thing.
Well, you know what happens when I'm working with a client and I'm pulling an entity out of them, like today, for instance, I pulled the Egyptian god Thoth out of somebody, and right away, all of a sudden, they got nausea, they got dizzy, they got sweaty. Quite often what I find is that the nausea feeling is some type of negative energy or entity leaving your body. So that could have.
Interesting. I do get some light treatments from Heather, and I felt a little nauseous a couple times, and I'm so used to just eating a little bit of protein, just like after astral travel or something, and get regrounded. But I like that a lot, and that does resonate. So
I was actually, I've been doing a lot of improving with my health, etc. Especially since our talk, Peta, when you did that reading for me, I think it was on the 2nd of January, and I've been very productive, and then all of a sudden, I had this really weird pain in my back and my hip, and it was really intense, and I didn't do anything to strain it, and I was in a lot of pain. The next day, it went up to my shoulder blade, right, and it was so excruciating, and in about 2 hours, it was gone, and I realized, it is my body letting go of negative energy, of toxins, in general, and so, pain is, as long as it's in short spurts, is actually, kind of a good thing sometimes, when you're ridding your body and or your spirit of negative energy. So I think that with the nausea and maybe especially sweating, I would think that is definitely ridding the body of of toxins and or negative energy, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, wow. Well, Chris, you're welcome to stay, or if I don't know what I'd love for you to hang out as I talk to Peta, and if you need to go, I totally understand. What would you
I've got paint drying on the walls and a wet brush.
That sounds so metaphoric, I'm like, what? All right.
I'm gonna definitely check out your website, and I will be in touch. I love your message. And so I'm excited.
Please do, and if you're interested in having a chinwag and discussing philosophies, I'm very much into that. I've delved deeply into things with E.B. Lorigan and a lot of other healers. So I'd love to have a chat.
I would too. I think we're good.
Excellent. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being my guest, and let's not do it once a year anymore. Let's do it a little more often, and I'll definitely tune into your new radio show, which is every other Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, on pyramid1network.com.
Correct.
All right, right on. So it's not this next Wednesday, but in 2 weeks from yesterday.
Correct. Yes? That's it.
Awesome. Well, and again, chriskehler.net. Chris, it's been such a pleasure, and I'll probably reach out and say hi to you on Skype. And once again, thank Hayden for all of his work from me. And
Hayden's
I'm sure
an angel.
Yeah.
Nothing but an angel.
I need one angel. All right, Chris, you take care. Thanks again.
Blessings, people.
All right.
Bye.
Wow. Isn't he great? I got goosebumps. That's awesome.